Welcome to the Determined Man podcast, where we help men become better versions of themselves and discover their life's purpose. Join us as we unlock the power of discipline and what it means to be determined. Remember, stay consistent, build the discipline, feed the motivation. Hey everyone, Zach here. Welcome to the Determined Man podcast. This is episode 3. And guys, this is our first episode where we're going to talk about reading, book reviews, not just developing, our bodies with the fitness that we discussed last week, but developing our minds. To be the better version of yourself, to be that leader of leaders, we also have to read. I just recently heard a quote, not really sure who it was from, not sure I'm just going to paraphrase it, but it's something like, not all readers are leaders, but all leaders are readers. And this is something personally that I have struggled with. I am not a good reader. I've never been a good reader. And it's one of my New Year's resolutions to become a better reader. But also in wanting to do that, I think it's going to make me a better leader as well. It's going to make me the next level, better version of myself. And so one thing I want to do before we get into the actual book reviews, like I discussed in the overview of the podcast, we're going to be reading a book once a month. I'm going to discuss what it is, and then I'm going to go over it. But what I wanted to first talk about is how I'm going to be reading. Now, historically or in the past, I have just read books. Now, I love fiction books. I read a 500-page fiction book a couple months ago in a day and a half. I was really into the story. It was really entertaining. And I think that is still valuable for people to be reading. I think reading in general is good. It gets the mind working. You get better at spelling and understanding words and things like that. So I think there are some skills in reading. I think there's some skills in audiobooks and things like that as well. But the actual process of actual reading is still valuable. But I want to really focus on reading self-development books, nonfiction books, and not just reading for pure entertainment. And I think that's going to be a challenge for me. I think last year I read maybe 4 books. I can remember 2 on the top of my head. I think I tried another one. So we're going to try to go from that to at least 12. I'm halfway through my first book right now. And by the next reading review episode, I'll have finished the first book. We'll be able to discuss it. But I just don't want to just read. I want to understand, and I want to be able to retain that information. What I've seen in the past is I read a book, I remember a few important details from it. I try to implement those things. I maybe talk about those things for a while, and then I just forget about it. I slowly lose it. I don't have any notes. I don't have any long-term memory of those books. So one thing I'm doing, and I watched a lot of videos, a lot of podcasts, and read a lot of stuff about the proper way to remember what you read, how to annotate, how to take notes. So I'm going to talk through my process of what I'm currently doing, and maybe this will work for you. You can adjust it to your needs. I have never annotated in books before. I've never taken notes, never highlighted. I know there's a whole thing out there. Some people don't want to. They feel like it ruins the book. I've just made the decision. I bought this book, and I'm going to write on this book and take notes in this book. I also heard another quote or a conversation one of these videos I was reviewing. Basically, it's a conversation with the author. And I'm a musician, if you can tell, for those visual audience. I have a trumpet there in the background, play music. It would be like buying a piece of music and then not making notes on your music. Every musician takes notes, writes notes on their music. Same thing here with the book. So I think it makes me understand it better. So every time I'm reading, I basically take it as, quote unquote, like a homework assignment. And I have my highlighter with me, I have my pencil with me, and I have my little sticky Post-it tabs. And so I'm tabbing, I'm highlighting, and I'm underlining things. Now, I think everyone's going to have their own system about, do you highlight if it's important? Do you underline maybe some things? Do you circle if you don't understand? Question mark. I think everyone can figure out their own system. I am still working through my system. And as time goes on, I think I will develop what works for me specifically. So right now, what I'm doing, I am tabbing. I'm winning. The book I'm reading right now is How to Win Friends and Influence People. I'm about a third of the way through. And you can see I already have some tabs for those visual audience. I have some tabs in here already. And, I think it's working out okay. It's one of those things when you start taking notes for the first time, you don't really know what to highlight or what to take notes for. So right now I'm just things that stick out to me, quotes that I enjoy. But what I'm noticing is I'm having a hard time comprehending what I'm reading because I'm too focused on, I need to highlight something. I need to take notes on something. So as I finish chapters, I'm trying to reflect back. And when I finish the book, I'm going to have to really take some time to figure out what this book brought to me and what I'm learning. But you can see in here, I am highlighting, underlining, putting tabs in, and I'm really trying to get some work out of the book. And then the thing I like about the tabs is it's going to be a quick reference. I'm going to be able to flip to something that is worth value, and I'll be able to point something out of it. So if we just flip to one of these first ones that I have here, and I love this one already, this quote, it's already going to be remembering this forever. And again, we're going to deep dive into this book next week. But when dealing with people, let us remember we are not dealing with creatures of logic. We are dealing with creatures of emotion, creatures bristling with prejudice and motivated by pride and vanity. I love that. I just think I've always kind of said that before. Maybe this is where I got it from, but creatures of emotion, not logic. And you have to understand that when talking and dealing with people. So great thing. Next thing I'm working on, guys, is taking notes. So I have a notebook here, and after every chapter, my plan is to summarize or take some big points out of what I got out of that chapter. So I think this is one of the best things to do to kind of understand your reading. So for me, I kind of broke it down very simple. I just wrote chapter 1, part 1, and then I wrote back 4 or 5 main points. So right here, chapter 1, don't criticize, complain, or condemn others. Humans are not logical creatures. Most people will defend themselves and not criticize themselves. And put yourself in their shoes. This will help with empathy. So these are like the 4 main points I got out of that chapter. And then I write questions for myself, things that I think I need to expand upon, or maybe that the chapter didn't cover. So this one is it ever okay to criticize someone? If so, how should you do it? Because the book didn't really cover that. And I think criticism at some points is warranted, probably in a positive way. But guys, I just wanted to talk about, this is how I'm going to approach my reading. Those steps. I'm going to read a page, highlight, underline, read a chapter, write notes about it afterwards, keep it all in this notebook, be tabbing and things like that. Super excited about it. It's been a struggle already, but every morning I've gotten up at 5:30 in the morning and I read for 30 minutes. And then I leave to go to the gym, get to work by 6:30, and I work out for an hour and then do my work. And so I like to read in the morning because I know if I wait to the end of the day, I'm not going to get to it. That's my procrastination in me. So I think whatever your schedule is, schedule some time for reading. Maybe it's in the evening. I kind of want to do that as well. I think it's a good way to decompress, not use, not scroll through TikTok or Instagram and all that other stuff. Get less screen time if you read the book at the end of the day. But whatever time, just dedicate time to reading. And that's kind of the goal here. So we have some books behind me as well that I'm going to be going through. So the plan is to do How to Win Friends and Influence People is the first book. The second book is, I think it's called The Naked Mind. And I might move that one and do Atomic Habits before it. But I want to do The Naked Mind because I'm not drinking this year in 2024. It's one of my New Year's resolutions, and that book talks about it. So I think it's better to do it earlier than late. But I've heard the same thing about Atomic Habits. I should probably read that book earlier so I can establish these habits. And then there's some other ones, the 7 Traits of Highly Effective People, Speed of Trust, The Art of Not Giving an F, Strength in Leadership. So those are the books that I have kind of in the queue. I've already gotten a ton of recommendations from a lot of different people. So I'm really looking forward to it. This is going to be one of my biggest challenges yet. I hope these little tips and pointers about how to read and annotate work for you. But again, you might have a better system. Maybe work through it, see what works for you. And hopefully this will help you understand and learn more. I think the key is when you read, you're really going to develop your mind. You're first of all, you're learning skills and working on the English language and just understanding. But this is getting you to think in a different way, not just listening to a YouTube video, an audio book, or things like that. You get to read it, you get to understand it, get to analyze it afterwards. And every good leader that I know has been a reader, kind of like that quote I said in the beginning. And to take ourselves to the next level, to be the next better version of ourselves, this is something I think we all need to do. This is a big challenge for me, and I'm really glad that I get to, go along this journey with you guys. So, I look forward to the next episode where we get to break down the full book. I'll be done the book by then, and I'm looking super forward to it. Guys, my name is Zach. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode. Remember, stay consistent, build that discipline, feed that motivation, and I will talk to you guys later. Deuces.